Yeah, it's just number one, we haven't done a mozone or get together in a while, and number two, everybody's working on so much different stuff. I figure let's go live and talk about it. I want to ask people what they think about the Derek guy too, like just like how they feeling about 2020 in general. People was
it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I have my own personal thoughts on it, and yeah, so yeah.
Yes. And I have my podcast, so
yeah, we're gonna get started so that you can be able to do your thing, because we can't afford to wait for anybody. Okay, welcome to the Mozone. It's 2021. It's been a while since we've been on here. Took a little break because me and my friends have been working on so many different things. So I obsess on things, sometimes one thing at a time. I'm not always that good at balancing more than one project at a time, but wow, I'm excited. I mean, some of the ladies, we got our retreat going on, and there's things going on in the news, things going on all over the world. I think we still are at the same point where we're just seeing people reveal themselves and family members like, wow, I really just didn't know that you had it, maybe people not on team me, they on team them, but not on your team. And so you're really just finding out that you're going to have to rely on yourself. People that you had as gurus and guides and that you really thought the world of, that you kind of realize, you know what, everybody is just human and they're no better than you. So best to rely on yourself to get your message from source, not really anybody else above you. So I'm going to introduce these two ladies here. Few ladies on here, because we got some ladies popping up on here now. It's a crazy day. I don't know. I took a hot bath and actually like passed out afterwards. I was like getting up, like, baby, help me set the camera up. So I had to like get my mind right, like, woo, snap back. So I'm gonna first introduce Shannell Knowles, or we can call her Nell. Wonderful lady. And I started to see her on her spiritual journey. We've worked together for years, but she has some talents that I just didn't know about. She had some special things going on that I had no idea just based on us being in the office. But I'm just amazed at what she's doing and what's going on in her life. So first off, I'll just introduce Ms. Knowles, her and Lord Knowles, if he wants to pop on there. But tell us what you're doing, Shannell, and why it's so important for 2021.
Thank you so much, Erika. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So a little bit about myself. I was not always living a spiritual lifestyle. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And in my mid-20s, it never really resonated with me. And I always looked deeper, always asked a lot of questions. And in my mid-20s, I started on a path of finding my own power, growing my own energy, learning so much that was not taught to us. And I saw the need to share with others. So I now I'm registered. So now I'm officially the owner of Ascending Infinite Goddess, which is also my brand. That is also my spiritual name. That's the name that my guides allowed me to remember who I am, because we're always on a path of ascension. We should always be looking to grow. And that's what I do to help others. So I work with chakras, I work with astrological energy, I work with intentions, I work with meditations, just all different types of things. And I'm a teacher at heart. So I am well-rounded versed, and I look to help others become 360 as well.
Awesome. That is so cool. Kudos on the name and the registration. Congratulations on that. Also, what's exciting is Nell is one of the first people to sponsor my book. So she'll be in the book. She'll have her own page telling you more about herself inside my journal. So I'm totally looking forward to that. It's going to be a hardcover journal. It's beautiful. It's called The Cycle of Life. Miss Ria, I don't know if you're ready, but you have a lot of amazing things going on. Every day I talk to Ria, I learn something new. So today I'm learning that your father was a bodybuilder. That's freaking awesome. Because every time I talk to her, she's like, I just was working out today. And I'm like, damn, I feel guilty.
Well, my name is Sherria. I used to go by Ria Slave, but I recently, through some recent transformations of my own, I dropped that persona that I had built and kind of, just went with who I am. And honestly, I need to change that on my screen. I haven't done that, but yeah, I once called myself a spiritual doula, but I'm basically think of myself as more of a self-mastery coach, because what I focus on is helping people understand the energies that they embody naturally versus trying to teach them how to be something that they're not. I teach them how to embrace who they are and to make life work for them based on that. So I dive into everything from not just the chakras, but from their emotional body to their astrology, to their human design. I kind of combine all of that together to help people formulate a plan where they can navigate life in a way to where they're not basically always living in their shadow, right? Because I found that most people are in their shadows because they're constantly living or putting themselves in situations that go against who they are. And a lot of people are left thinking that they have to deal with this stuff and that they have to conform. When I teach people, make life conform to you. You don't have to sit back and just let life happen. And that's just my life journey, because honestly, that's what helped heal me. Like, don't get me wrong, the universal laws and stuff and all of those theories out there about what's going on with Earth, they're very enlightening. But ultimately, my healing came from understanding me and being able to accept me. So that's why I focus on what I teach.
You know why I like that message is because we're always putting off our happiness. Like, I'll be happy when, and I'll be happy if. And it's like we're constantly on that hero's journey of when I become this and when I do that and when I master this. And at some point you have to just really sit with yourself and just be happy, observe where you are, understand who you are, and just absorb that and be happy with that. Even if you never make the $1 million, nothing wrong with trying to go out and be a millionaire or trying to be abundant or trying to be even if you wanted to be a doula, whatever it is that you want to be. What are you right now? Are you happy with that right now? And if nothing ever changed, would you be okay with that?
Right.
Oh man, I love it. So Shalom, I am light.
Hey, you guys.
No,
hey,
Ria. Don't get started.
Nice to meet you, Shannell.
I'm so glad that you guys are getting the chance to meet. I'm gonna just talk about you. All I can say is, wow, like with Shalom, every day I'm being challenged and I'm seeing something new, like she can check me. She can check me like when my mind is being small, and she can like push a button and I'm like, yeah, you're right, like she can just expose a new light, and that's your name, Shalom I Am Light. And I know you're constantly working on yourself, and that's a part of what you're going to talk about before you can even go heal someone else, working on yourself. You have a retreat coming up. You're working with a great group of guys and gals that are they're just an amazing group of people that are challenging people, especially when it comes to being divisive and self-limiting. It's time to cut away a lot of old garbage. And I see that's what you're on the edge of, just cutting away all those, that old way of thinking and letting the chains go, So I'll just let you go. You can talk about your brand, your new oils, your new salts, everything you got going on.
I am just so excited to be with you guys. As always, I'm in a constant journey of recreating myself. I'm not who I was yesterday. I'm not who I was 6 months ago, 2 weeks ago, 5 minutes ago. I was in the bathroom making myself up, and I am not now who I am then. So I'm in a constant state of recreating myself because I've learned in this life journey of my own, like Rhea said, it's just knowing who you are is to follow the things that make my heart go bumpity bump. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to be anything and any other energy other than the energy that I was born to be in, and that I came here to be. So I'm always in the space of recreating myself. I'm always tapping into things that I'm interested in. And when I find that thing that makes me go, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do right now, guess what? I'm gonna do that full force until I'm done with it. And then I might pick up something else that makes my heart just move. So that means I'm going to change a lot. That means a lot of people are going to change. Things are going to change around me. You know what I'm saying? But the core essence of who I am is a soul who is following after all the things that she loves. But first I had to learn to love myself. The gifts, the abilities, the healings, the talents, and all that stuff I wouldn't be able to operate in them fully unless I learn to love who I am. And I'm on a journey of self-love, which opens up all the intuitive abilities, which open up all the mediumship abilities, which opens up all of the abundance that is rightfully mine. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing that I have to go out there and get, but it is something that I have to discover within myself. And everything that I could have ever hoped for and dreamed of will come to me once I find that sweet spot. Everything else is just the evidence of my inner world.
Totally, that's a mouthful. So we came to talk about what's happening. So let's just get started. Let's just say family, because I'm gonna throw a scenario out here. And I'm gonna tag along with what you said. It's so funny. In a few years ago, maybe about 2009, I have my old email tag, and it said, "You may know me today, but that doesn't mean you'll know me tomorrow." It's so true. It's so true. So I've been seeing, especially with family, like my mom. She's a spiritualist, and I was kept apart from her, my real mom, a long time. So I never learned that side of life. But now that I'm seeing that side of life, I'm starting to go to her and find out what her thoughts are, why she thinks the way she thinks, why she does the things she does, and just kind of glean on some of her knowledge and stuff like that. I've been taught by each and every one of you, because I've sat in on Shannell's classes. I've had Sherria, how do I say, because I'm used to calling you Rhea. Sherria.
You can call me Rhea. Rhea is actually a name that I've had since high school. And there's a story to me not really liking Sherria, because like when I was younger, when I heard my real name, because my dad always had a pet name for me. My mom, had her name for me. So whenever I heard Sherria, it was always an indication that I was in trouble.
Yeah. Let me call you Rhea then. Let me call you Rhea.
I know, right? So when I first seen it on Facebook, I was like, "Who is Sherria?"
I know.
I was like, "Oh, it's
I can't find you no more." So I've actually been in training with Sherria officially, learning more about myself. I mean, she's told me, some things about myself, and I'm loving it. And then always with Shalom, always learning something for myself. So I feel like I'm this, I'm on this journey, and the whole world is opening up. And I've had some other family members that maybe drop some harsh words, that maybe they're not cuss words, but with the sarcasm, with the bitterness, with the, maybe you don't believe what I believe, but I still respect you. And I've always gone that road with people, and I've always held my tongue. But I noticed recently, like, there was some sarcasm thrown my way when I was approaching a family member with concern. And I just was like, you know what? That's the last time that's about to happen. And, I said some words that I could have probably kept some of them words to myself, but I was like, screw you, go screw yourself. You know what I'm saying? And boop, delete, don't worry. Let's not even do this, because I think people are having a hard time understanding, like, you can be as enlightened as you want and spiritual as you want. It doesn't mean that you have to take shit off of people, that they got the right to, you know, like kick their dirt off at your doorstep. And I just let it out. And I was like, okay, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. And so a lot of people aren't going to understand that. But what do you ladies, I know you guys got a mouthful to say about that. You know, I'll start with you, Nell, because we know you're going to have to pop off soon. But how are you feeling these days when it comes to conflict or people, or dealing with people that you're finding that are dead weight?
Yeah.
Are you finding yourself like dropping them even quicker than ever before without giving it a second thought, you know?
Yeah, it's time to let that stuff go. It's not time to sit there and fester and go back and forth with people. It's not time to try to educate people on the fundamentals. Like, if they're not with you, if they cannot root for your authentic self, then they need to go. Because the more you hold on to them, the more weight you're pulling when you're trying to elevate yourself. And the dead weight that you're carrying is going to slow down your wait time of your ability to grow in just your true nature, right? So if you're trying to pour something new or gain something new or become a new person, and you're still full up of all this old stagnant energy, you can't put into that. You got to let that go. So yeah, quick, fast, in a hurry. 2020 taught me a lot.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of people that were my day ones, some of my siblings, and I had to say, you know what, you can't grow, you can't evolve past this, you can't let go of Shannell, you know, just like Shalom was saying, you can't let go of who I was in 2019, you can't let go of who I was in 1990, you can't let go of who I was 2 minutes ago, then I can't keep you no more. And it's hurtful, but it makes you grow. It allows you to grow, and that's what you should be striving to do. You know, anybody that can't, once again, support you in being your authentic self and support you in your growth, whether you're questioning, whether you're evolving, whatever it is that you're doing, you don't need them. You don't need them. You have a whole army behind you supporting you, right? You don't need these physical connections that's causing you sadness. No,
That ego is a mother, because it's their ego that won't allow you to grow.
Yep.
People have gotten to the point where they're like, their marriage is their identity, their job is their identity, their home is their identity. What if you lose all of that? What is your identity? If the, you know, and so who I am, you know, like if I don't remain a Jehovah's Witness, is that really who I am? Is that the core of who I am, is being a Jehovah's Witness or going to this church or being with these people? No, that's really not even my identity. And so how dare you try to imprison me into what you think I am? And I refuse to let anybody tell me who I am. You will not define me with your words. I will tell you, I will let you know who I am. That's how I feel about it. Ria, I don't know. I saw you shaking your head. I don't know if you had something you wanted to add to that.
No, I actually agree with both of you ladies. I mean, that's something that, you know, I struggled with in the beginning of my journey, but it's like one of those things where I'm so used to doing it now. Like it's nothing to me. Like, and you know, people, they always come to me, they be like, "Dang, you cold-hearted." And I'm like, "No, I'm not cold-hearted. When it's time for something to go, it's time to go." I can't. The only thing I can really say with that is I try to get people to be able to do that without passing judgment on the other party, because then you kind of put yourself on the same frequency with that person. You know, so like what I do when I'm interacting with people is, one of the things that I keep in the forefront is that they're operating from their understanding, and it is not my obligation, nor is it my job to bring them to my understanding. So for me, just having that, I just always keep it in the back of my head that some things will not vibrate at the level of where I am. And I don't look at that vibration as a judgment of high or low. It's just not my vibration, so I don't want to be around it. And also, like, I'm just not the person to where I just write people off because of it, you know, like, especially when it comes to family. You know, when I went through my healing, I disconnected from my family for a long while. they didn't hear from me for a while. My friends didn't even hear from me. When I say I went into total isolation, like nobody pretty much knew what was going on with me. Some people were actually very concerned because that's how quiet I was. But it was just more of those things where I was just, you know, I was letting the relationships be because right now I wasn't feeling none of them. And I, you know, and if they tried to make me feel guilty, then you just cut that conversation because I'm not even going to let that enter my energy field. So I guess like I've just gotten pretty solid in not letting other people's energy bother me to that extent. And I just really, I know that it's tough for other people, you know, when they're first starting out. But I always tell people, like, just like with anything, the more practice you do, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, most definitely. And it sounds like you gave yourself room to grow and be comfortable. And then, you know, you allow them a chance, but then it's like, okay, well, if you're not really fitting, let's not force it. Now, that's kind of something I'm telling my brothers and sisters, like, you know, we have a very big family and it's a very unique family, and you don't have to force yourself to be a part of these groups and these conversations or these so-called family trips and outings and things like that. Don't feel bad about it. When if you do go because it's going to make you happy. Don't go trying to look for, you know, closure on 47 years or 50 years or some stuff. You're not going to fix that on this trip. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the secrets of granddaddy are not going to help you right now. Unless granddaddy come down as your spirit guide, I'm like, I really wouldn't worry about what granddaddy was doing. Honestly. I literally had that conversation because I feel like people they're looking for some kind of like, well, if I go on this trip, no, they're not going to be no different than they was last week, last month, last year, okay? Go because you want, you know, what do you call those things? Mimosas. I love freaking mimosas. So I like $2 mimosas. I'm going on the cruise because the price is right. I like mimosas and I'm going to play bingo. Don't go trying to resolve some kind of, if it ain't fixed yet, it ain't, don't look for it. Something might happen. No, don't get me wrong. Something might happen, but don't be looking for.
I'm just going to show my ass.
The thing is, don't go looking to trigger yourself. You know, if you know that certain people, when you get around them, they're going to trigger you. Like, let's just say, you know, and let's just do something petty out there because we know that this is something that happens in families with weight, you know, whether you're skinny or you're big, you know, you go around family and there's just always that one family member that got to make a comment on something about your appearance, you know, and you keep going around that person knowing that person gonna trigger you, you know. So it's like one of those things where you got to realize your own triggers and then take accountability in the fact of when you're allowing that person into your energy to trigger you. Like I be telling people, stop doing that to yourself because society told you that you gotta be around somebody or whatever. Like y'all gonna learn about letting society lead you right into your grave because that's what they will do.
I get a lot of things like, your belly. Why your belly so big? Like, dang, my belly been big for like 15 years now. You ain't accepted.
Y'all ain't used to this belly yet.
My question will be, how is that your damn problem?
Yeah.
You ain't got to carry it.
You got some ugly feet. Like, and I'm like, do people just, I'm just going to ask y'all, do people just do this? Like, it's like they just observe the obvious. Like, that's it. Okay, it's like your hair, your feet, your nails, and ooh, what I want is some chicken. Oh, you know what I ate last week? I was like telling my brother, I said, it's so annoying when I go home. It seems like all people talk about is food.
Food, right? I'm like, what?
What's food? Talk about?
You know, food hypnosis.
It's so weird. It's so weird. So I think we got that. We got that you're going to be triggered. Even my last trip home, I did not want to deprive my adopted mom of seeing my son, but I know because she loves him. But I was like, you know, you don't even like me, so let's stop playing. You don't like me.
Yeah.
You don't like the way that I am. You don't like that I'm going to be honest with you, that I'm not going to let you gossip and talk bad about people in front of me. So you don't really like me. So I let my son go in and I sat out in the car. Went to go get something to eat. When he was ready, I picked him back up, you know. So some people might be like, oh. I'm like, well.
You being standoffish.
No, but I'm just not going to allow myself.
Because you ain't going to be around that bullshit.
A long time ago, my real mom said, how many times do you pick up a snake before you realize it's going to bite you? How many times are you going to let it bite you before you realize, oh, it's a snake. It's going to bite you. Stop. You don't have to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in that mindset for 2 years now, and I'm pretty damn happy. It might still disturb some other people, but it makes me feel good. So
Yeah.
And if I'm traumatized because of the people that I'm around, then it's going to hurt my son. Because mommy's not feeling good. So,
Well, for one, I'm just trying to set an example for my daughters as well. Because, my daughters are very unique. They have their, and we're all very unique, right? And, they have their own expressions. And, my oldest would be considered neurodivergent, And so one of the things that she had experienced in before I started homeschooling, when I did have her in public school, I had to start very young with my kids and having to teach them to be very solid in themselves and in their beliefs, and not to let the ugly or what they perceive as the ugly in other people to do that. A matter of fact, I was going through my daughter, like part of our homeschool lesson is helping them understand themselves. So we was diving into their chart today. And so today we're diving into moon energy some more. And, I'm diving into her Virgo energy because she has a Virgo moon. And so, we got to the part where, they, with the Virgo moons, they can have that very judgmental part of self, and it's so funny because she was like, yeah, that is totally me. And so I was trying to teach her, like we was having a conversation. So I was like, so what happens when you find yourself in a conversation with someone who you don't have the same views with? And she said, oh, you just throw them in a river. And I had to bust out that. I was like, no, baby, that's not how we do it.
Let's end this swiftly.
I don't know. Yeah. Those Virgos, those Virgo emotional bodies, they got something about them. So you might want to make sure you course correct it every time. Do not throw them in the river, not the Everglades, none of that.
Oh, wow.
I told him, I was like, no, that's where you separate the energies. That's when you untangle those energies together. I was like, you don't just don't but you can. I told her, I was like, it's in those instances where you have to have an understanding that you guys have come to a situation where you cannot align on, and that is perfectly okay. And I'm still working with her on that one. We ended the lesson not having an understanding. But it's just one of those things where even like if you want to embody those things as an adult easily, we really should start with childhood. And so that's why I do kind of like have that empathy with people who are struggling with this, especially now in 2021, because we have had a society that has taught us to conform ourselves to other people rather than allowing each other to stand in our truth and in our power without passing judgments on the differences.
It's true. I think when we're young, I know when I was younger, it was like, just say no to drugs. And you're like very rigid in whatever it is you view. And then you realize like, wow, there's 360 degrees to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
7.7B and 360 degrees.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow. So. Speaking of that, that was the answer I gave someone about masks, because they were like, everybody should wear a mask. And I was like, do you realize that there's 324 million people here, and you cannot like actually try to tell 324 million people that this is what they should do for their best interests, because there's interests outside of what you think and your fears that, maybe that doesn't affect you, but it affects them. Yeah. So how dare you feel like you're the absolute answer, or that you have the absolute answer to anyone else's stuff? You know what I mean?
Moral superiority. And you can see that in everything. Actually, one of the projects that I'm working on have been about diving deeper into the mysteries of the universal laws, right? And so we've all heard the myth, right, that universal laws are based on quantum physics, right? So me being someone who knows a little bit about both subjects, I'm starting to dive into those deeply. And then what I found is there's actually a complete disconnect between those two theories. Like the universal laws actually do not match quantum physics at all. And then when I started diving into the academia of it, you start seeing that a lot of it falls into philosophy, not science, right? So then you this is actually part of what has been a catalyst in my transformation thus far that I'm going through right now in 2021, because it made me show that once again, we have a system that has been infiltrated with someone's perception of moral superiority and is being passed off as scientific universal law, and it's not. And so it really just made me understand what it meant when it said that in 2021 we was going to understand the infiltration of the human consciousness on all levels. And so when it came to labels, that's what made me just like really kind of start dropping all of these major labels, because when you really start digging into it, you start realizing that you're embodying somebody else's perception and then taking it as truth. And this new journey that I'm going in with, this new path that I'm on, and the research that I'm doing is really just kind of opening my eyes to how, even in our quest of ascension, how we can really start to blur those lines of, are we allowing people really to evolve into who they are, or are we guiding them to who we think they are based on what somebody else said we think that they are?
Because you said that, I have to say this.
Follow up.
My follow-up is this, that number one, this country is based on or founded on what? The beliefs of pilgrims and Protestants, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't understand the level of how judgmental we are because of that. Because even myself, like I could go to Universal and I saw a girl with some shorts on, I was like, ugh, like I get real funny about certain things. And I was like, but then I have to track back. Like when I went to Europe, you could drink beer any time of the day. Your kids could drink beer. It didn't matter if they were 5 or 6 years old. When you go inside the store, if rap music has a curse word in it, they don't delete it. They don't bleep it. When it comes to porn, you don't have to go to a special porn channel. It's on regular TV. Just different things. It's okay to be, different. It's okay to, not live this corseted life. Like even the idea of wearing a bra, that is fashion led from corsets and things like that, where we bound ourselves down. Where if people really were understanding, like if we were living this tribal life and like things are possibly heading, Victoria's Secret might not be in business. Fruit of the Loom and Hanes might not be in business. You about to start seeing nipples again, okay? You about to start seeing people dress in a way that's...
Period, because I don't wear a bra at all.
Because we have these definitions of what people should be. Now, I saw a lady in Brazil walking down the street butt-ass naked with a purse, because she said it was hot, okay? And it was like, okay, nobody stopped her, nobody's bothering her. They didn't try to put her in an insane asylum. She just, it was just like, we are not the definition of the world. We're not the definition of more morality. And so that's what I see when I watch people in the United States always judging, and to the point where you're going to put a camera in somebody's face inside a Walmart and risk getting yourself shot or getting a fight because you feel like you have the moral high ground to tell this person that whatever it is that they should be doing. That's number one. Number two, the fake definition of what it means to be Black. That's the one that blows me away, because I think everybody kind of gravitates on what they see of Africa. There's two kinds of Blacks that I see in the United States. It's either the African Black and the traditional African Black. Well, guess what? There were Black Chinese, Black Philippines, Black Brazil. You know what I mean? Like, so you can't just say Africa. Now there's the other definition of Black, because you ain't, you don't sound Black. You sound white or whatever. You talking Black. So here's this false perception of what it means to be Black being built in America and defined, so much so that Black people are using the definition of Black against each other. Because I'm going to tell you, you're not Black enough because you light skin, or because your daddy's white, or because, you use big words, or, the list goes on and on. So it's a false definition. It's And then now we're actually painting ourselves into a box to become the definition that someone else made up.
Well, I
That's
find
that identity crisis again.
Yeah, well, I find that because people lack identity, individuality, they have to gatekeep cultural identity. And then I found that really with the way that academia is taught, and I actually had a debate about this when I brought up, I was pointing out the definition of something to someone, and they kept saying, well, that's your perception of the definition. And I told them, I was like, coming from someone who used to work as a research analyst and who had to write very technical research papers and terms and stuff like that, that's something that really does irk me about common society, is that they really feel like their perception should overrule fact. And that's something that's kind of irked me with having conversations with people, because the thing is, one thing that I've learned is we can never actually come to any conclusion with conversations because people want to argue perception. It's like, okay, well, we get your perception, but the fact of the matter is this. And I give a perfect example. We were talking about forgiveness, right? And someone was saying that they released resentment, but they didn't have to forgive. And I told them, well, that's a contradictory statement. And they was like, well, how so? And I was like, well, because the definition of forgiveness is to release resentment or anger towards a person or situation. It does not mean to absolve someone of their debt and say that they didn't do it or that it was okay to do it. It means to release resentment. So when you say that you release resentment, but you did not forgive, you just created a contradictory statement. And their argument to that was, well, that's your perception of forgiveness. And I'm just like, we have a whole definition, but okay,
A collective agreement.
All right.
Let me tell you something. Ooh.
Right?
I'm not gonna interrupt you. I hope you
It's
know,
a collective agreement.
When you say certain phrases like, I'm writing this stuff down, I love it. It's a challenging conversation, and I didn't know we were about to get this deep, but go ahead.
Well, these are just really thoughts that I've been having, and I feel like that's why progression lacks, because we cannot sit here and acknowledge that this has been a collective agreement on what this means, and that even though you don't agree with it, just call it what it is. If you're like, what is so hard about saying I forgave? And what I found is, like, even in spirituality, the reason why we have a lot of perception is because people still have not reconciled their experiences. So instead of reconciling their experiences, they're creating all of these perceptions in these different realities, you know what I'm saying, to kind of pacify their negative experiences within what they perceive as negative experiences. And I had to tell one lady, just from my career, is what I found is that one thing, when we were in the scientific community, we wrote based on what the collective agreement was. You was not allowed to write in perception. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk to people, I'm like, let's be clear. Are we talking about a collective agreement, or are we talking about your perception of this collective agreement? Because those are two very different things. And when we are talking about healing collectively, we need to work with the collective agreement. Individual perception is for yourself. But when it comes to collective healing, we need a collective agreement, or thus we will never get anywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's just a simple fact to it.
Because this is what you learn with neurolinguistics. Even the word forgiveness, and I would say each one of us write down 10 words that you associate with forgiveness. And maybe we might have 3 words in common. Maybe. And that's how serious it is that people don't even understand. As we're talking, that's why we're having so many misunderstandings. I have a friend who's white and says the word ghetto. And I'm like, you might want to be careful, because I know that you're not trying to say black, but if you say this in front of somebody else, this is what they're going to say that you're saying. Because from my definition of what ghetto is used as by certain people when I was in South Carolina, that means you slumming, and that means you hanging out where I live. Ghetto does not include trailer park, but in your definition, it includes trailer park, dirty foot. It includes all the words, but I don't know that based on you saying it out of your mouth. So we got to actually go through a checklist to say, well, what is it that you mean when you say this word? People get irritated by me because I like to ask another question behind a question, because I want to know before I say what it is I'm going to say to you. I would like to ask you a couple of questions about what you mean first before I assume that I know what you mean. Because we, you know, someone in New York does not think at all the same as someone from South Carolina, and definitely not the same as someone from California. But we're all using the same bag of words, and we have a very different meaning behind those words. So,
Yes.
A ghetto could be somebody living. I grew up in Chicago in a high-rise building, apartment building where they sold crack cocaine, and it was just people pissing in the halls and stuff like that. But if I go to another part of the world, like somewhere in Africa where kids are dying and their stomachs are distended and flies are all over them because they don't have any clean drinking water, they're drinking the same water that the animals are defecating in. You know what I'm saying? So are we really just saying the word ghetto from our own standpoint, because it's ghetto everywhere on this planet? You know what I'm saying? We haven't experienced all the ghetto that there is on this planet. So we just pretty much leave it to our own experiences of what ghetto is. You know what I'm saying? A trailer park is a ghetto.
it is.
You know what I'm saying? High rises in the ghetto. The whole earth, we even turned it into a ghetto. You know what I'm saying? It was not a ghetto at its inception, but we've made it like that because let me just stop.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like your body. I mean, let's just be real. If we're gonna, like, here's the thing: we have to stop with the "let me stop," you know, because like the collective shadow process is going to be the same as the individual, which is we need honesty with ourselves, and we need honesty with ourselves as a collective, because you know, like, the earth is a reflection of our body, of our, you know, of our spiritual body, right? Just like our physical body is a reflection of how we treat it. So if earth is turning into the ghetto of the universe, it's because its inhabitants are turning it into the ghetto of the universe. You know, like I told someone, like, just based on quantum physics and what energy is, if you really look at it, human consciousness is really just the awareness of being able to be aware of your individual energetic state and having the ability to actually cause energetic motion when either you're in rest or going in one direction, right? Because an inanimate, you know, object, it has to wait for something to push for it to move. Humans, we have this ability to be able to look at ourselves, judge our state, and initiate movement if necessary. And a lot of us do not take that responsibility that comes with it, and we don't fully embody it. And then we complain about the results.
Very good.
Yeah, that's a lot of people that I come in contact with. We have issues with holding ourselves accountable, with sharing our side of the responsibility of everything that is happening for us. We always want to take a victimhood stance, but that's through teaching, that's through our environment, that's through programming, right? So as I believe it was Erika who was saying, back when you're 8 years old, 8 years old, you know, that's when your subconscious is fully programmed, right? A child is just open and sponging it in. So your foundation is based off of everything that you've been in your environment. And if you're growing around people or learning from people that you can do this and not take accountability for this, or you can blame this person and put it here, then you're going to see that manifest in other ways as an adult being. So unless you go in and face that shadow, that inner child, that programming, that foundation, and start to rewrite that in your subconscious and let it flow through your auric fields into your energetic body and then spread onto the collective, we're going to keep having conundrums, right? That's why it's important to let go of the dead weight, not just in other people, but of yourself as well, right? Heal that and let it be.
Exactly. Well, you know, in order to do that, though, there's going to have to be an expansion of the mind, you know. And I actually had this conversation a few days ago and actually again today. So it's interesting that it's coming up again, 3 times the charm, right? But we were talking about how
synchronicities.
but we were talking about how it's so hard for a lot of people to hold two opposing ideas and see truth in both of them. And so that's the thing about it, because in all situations, right, even with myself, like when people ask, how did I get so comfortable with my shadow? And I was like, well, because I was someone who literally lived in my shadow. Like a lot of people who I've met in the spiritual community, after they've gotten to know me, we've had intimate conversations. I tell them, like, look, if you would have known me 6 years ago, you wouldn't be like, there is not a spirit that is touching you. You know, there are some things wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know, but it had, you know, it was through my journey that I found out that the reason why I lived in my shadow and I was so comfortable with it is because I didn't trust not a damn body. You know, I was letting my perceptions of my interactions with other humans, and then so what I did is I painted every human as a monster, and so therefore it justified my ill treatment of anybody who was a monster. And so people who felt wronged by me didn't understand that in my eyes, from my shadows, I was protecting myself from being hurt, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, now that I'm on the other side of that, I have the light version and I have the shadow version. And so confronting those two things, I've been able to sit with situations and literally be in the middle of it and see how all of it played a part. See my fault, see their fault, see other things that interfere with it, you know, like things that was signed, you know, didn't even seem like it had something to do with it. And I started seeing the truth of different situations. My truth was I felt like I was protecting myself. Their truth was I had no intention of hurting.
I love that, because they say I'm always going to be the bad guy in your story, and you're always going to be the bad guy in my story. You know,
right? And I'm not gonna lie. There's relationships that I tried to fix after coming, you know, out of that, and I had to accept that I couldn't fix that. I couldn't, you know, and that's actually what makes me so compassionate for others. Like when someone asked me, you know, about this whole, you know, fiasco with these celebrities going on right now, I was like, well, one of the reasons why I'm not speaking on it is because I can't speak on nobody's demons. I've had my own.
Period.
I've been, you know,
you see it,
right?
You see it, but you ain't got
Shannell, you got 5 minutes, but I will speak on it, because the problem isn't the celebrity, it's you for relying on them with their imaginary life.
Exactly.
This is an illusion of perfection, and you swallow the illusion of perfection, and then you were upset when you found out, oh my God, that person really isn't this awesome superhero. There's no superhero on this planet for you.
Well, let me ask you this. Does it really discount some of the stuff that he said?
No.
No. Like,
so. But the issue is people put these celebrities on pedestals because they represent who it is that they want to be.
Exactly.
But because you're not authentic with yourself and you cannot be your own celebrity, you are the star. Don't stop putting these people on the pedestal. You can take what's for you and leave the rest. But
eat the meat and spit out the bones.
Exactly. And now when it all comes crumbling down, it's, oh my goodness. But then you have those that still see their faults and still make excuses for them and still won't let go of the ideology.
And that's why I feel like we can speak on it, because judging him, for me personally, I think it's a publicity stunt so that you and your wife can come out with a new book. He came out with a new book. And, you know, so it's not worth my time in that. But as I see people addressing it, you're only hurt. Why are you so hurt? And Shannell and I actually worked with someone, and that's how it was. In the office, they were a celebrity, and everybody was like, oh my God, he's the golden boy, and he's so wonderful. And the sun and the moon was set in that person. But I wasn't in that office for that person. I was there for me and my dreams. So when I saw that person fall, it didn't stop me. But a lot of people, they gave up their dreams because of the one person who fell. And it's like, I thought you were doing this for you. I thought you were doing it for your family. I thought you were doing it for your kids, not for that person's approval.
Well, you know, and that's the thing that I think that we can agree on the effect, the aftermath of it. But what I mean by like speaking on I meant more speaking on, should we be judging him for what he did, you know? And that's really, because like I feel like is this was a big opportunity for one, is for people to learn how to stop looking at the situation with blinders on, right? Because we've gone through this, you know, well, some of us have, but
it's a rerun of everybody's story. Somebody cheating and shit,
right?
And everybody like, oh, look, shut up, who cares?
But not only that, it's just like, how many times do we hear people say, I don't want nobody to coach me on something they haven't been through? So how the hell did you expect a man to coach you on what a fuckboy is if he is indeed not one or has been
That
one?
that part. And half the people didn't even know they was in a relationship. How you take a relationship advice from someone who don't put their relationship out there? To say, here, this is what's going on.
I'm gonna rewind because I'm gonna hit the TD.
I ain't never seen this wife before this. I ain't never seen it before.
Well, I'm gonna be saucy.
So it look like he probably just
come on there with them shirts all tight and the muscles sticking out. I was like, remind me of a church pimp. Sorry, but anyway, because you know you flexing them juicy muscles, your shiny blackness in front of them ladies, and of course women was gonna hit on him. That's what they do. But the thing for me was that TD Jake says when you minister to yourself. So if you got a pastor who's always talking about drugs, he's struggling with drugs. If he always talking about prostitutes, he struggles with prostitutes. This man was a person who probably became obsessed with how to coach relationships because he knew who he was and he was ministering to himself and now made some money off of it. And Shalom, you know, we know someone else who's in the same boat. They struggle with women, but they steady coaching on relationships. So we'll just
okay.
Hold on, wait. I missed.
What you know, Shalom? What you know?
Who coaching? Wait a minute.
She said, wait a minute.
They struggle with women. Therefore, they constantly are teaching about relationships. Why? Because
there's too many of them out there to even pinpoint who, because I see a lot of them.
People are ministering to themselves. It says through the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. That's what the Bible says, right?
Yes.
However you feel about the Bible, there's some good stuff in there. So anyway, through the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. If I'm always talking about my mama, then I probably got something going on with my mama. If I'm always talking about food, I probably got a problem with food. If I'm always talking about sex and marriage, I'm struggling somewhere in there. That's what I'm obsessed with. That's what's coming out of my heart because it's coming out of my mouth.
Because like even what I teach in my business is
so
have
to send me a message to see who you talking about.
Yeah.
Girl, you know, because I knew as soon as she said it.
I know, right? I'm messed up because I'm like, it's a whole bunch of people out here in this world. I can't pinpoint. And listen, my mind is like, if I'm out of there spaced out, it's cut. See, that had actually, that individual is out of my awareness at this point because I'm my whole energy somewhere.
It's something, and since you said that, do you notice you're forgetting people's names like quicker than ever before? Like, oh, I'm totally forgetting who that person is. Like time is moving so fast for me, and like our awareness is changing so much. It's like, oh,
I can't totally it's speeding it up. It's speeding it up. Time is moving. The earth is spinning faster. That's why you got to move at the speed of instruction. You have to move at the speed of
about it, because I actually saw something, and this was like in the Science Channel, and they've known this since 1920 that space is expanding, the planets are moving farther apart, so time is moving faster. They've known this since 1920. So when people say, man, time is going fast, no, it really, really is. But since we're going to talk about duality, Shannell, watch the time now. I don't want you to get in trouble. So
it's 8:02.
Yeah, I got 3 minutes I can squeeze in. Go ahead.
Okay, so since we're going to talk about duality, a lot of people were talking about, oh, you know, Cardi B and her dancing on the stage. And I was thinking to myself, like, I could get riled up about, oh, you know, what she's doing on television. But I had to start to think, just rolling back from this conversation, I myself have gone to Amsterdam where weed is on the menu and there's a live sex show. And I've been to the live sex show. I've paid for my own stripper. I've, you know, burlesque and things like that. That's not new. So I'm kind of wondering when people are going to be like, okay, that's what it is, and move on, because we're kind of just revolving, pointing our fingers at the, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? And you see what that person did? And it's like, yeah, but what you going to do? You know, what are you doing? And it's like you're kind of getting tired of pointing out, you know, okay, everybody woke up, we're waking up, people waking up at different times and they're starting to see things, but how long can you sit and just start pointing and looking? Because all these things are necessary.
Yeah.
All these things, there is no dark without the light.
Yeah, exactly. You have
Can't
to
see
have a
it.
balance in everything. Yeah.
Darkness cannot see itself without light.
Exactly. Right.
Didn't
That's
can
when
know
it's
the difference.
the brightest in the dark. Right.
Yeah.
So when you start seeing the balance of things, but that's the issue. Sometimes things are overstimulated, or who is it marketing towards, right? Or you're taking that energy and you're mutating it and you're putting it not where it's supposed to be. There's a lot of transmutation going on, right? So when you realize where things should be in the natural order of things, and you allow it to be in balance, and you allow things to play how it is without judgment, that's when you achieve true enlightenment, right?
Without judgment, without attachment.
Right.
I'm not attached to the outcome of this.
No, I love you for where you are. I love you for what you do. I don't have to agree with you to love you. I don't have to be there with you to support what it is that you're doing. I'm not going to attach myself to it, but let it go. So if Cardi B wants to dance on the stage, that's fine. That's appealing to someone, to an audience. You have to know where you should cut it off at, or what you don't want the people around you to be surrounded by, right?
Right, because everybody's saying their children are being exposed, but is it your kid? Because my kid don't know who Cardi B is, okay?
Exactly.
Well, see, here's the thing about the law of transmutation. The law of transmutation is essentially an agreement to interact with energies, right?
There you go.
And here's the thing, to even engage in transmutation, there's questions that you need to ask yourself. What kind of energy, what was your energy level before you even engaged with this?
Right.
What was your energy level after you engaged with it? If you were to transmute this energy, understand that means that there's going to be some motion there, which means that there's going to be workforce. So how much force and work would even have to go into this transmutation, and what would your energy levels be after it? If anything comes with a loss,
thank you.
Why are you even wasting your time transmuting with it? Because it's not going to be a balanced exchange. And, let's just be real about this. Even in electronics, it's proven that there has to be a negative and a positive force for there to be any type of motion of energy anyway. So at the end of the day, are you going to be the positive or the negative? Okay. And we all know that when it comes to energy and science, negative energy just means loss of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, your brain is like a darn computer.
And on that note, I'm going to jump off, but you wonderful beings, I love you all. Like y'all energy was giving me life. I'm so pumped. So I'm going to jump off to my next event, but I look forward to connecting with you all. My handle on everything, my website is www.ascendinginfinitegoddess.com. Ascending Infinite Goddess is also my handle on Instagram, YouTube, and Melanated People. That's where I'm active at. So Ascending Infinite Goddess, let's link up. Let's do some things. I'm looking to grow.
Hey.
Thank you, First Lady Erika.
All right, girl.
I love you all, and y'all keep it rocking. Peace.
All right, bye. It's so nice to meet you.
Namaste, sis.
Good night. Sorry, guys, I'm late.
No problem, Gidget. That's a wonderful topic, the idea of duality and deciding what you want to dance with, deciding what you want to tangle with, and ultimately, is it a part of your universe? Even when it comes to the news, I said to someone the other day, guess what? Like, no matter what's going on in Iraq, no matter what's going on with the president, the new one or the old one, there's somebody in North Carolina that doesn't have a TV, and every day is okay in their book. You understand? Because they created their universe, and it has nothing to do with what you're watching on the news. And it's so interesting. Before I met Shannell, I went through almost a breakdown by being introduced to like Rockefeller type information. And I was so overwhelmed back in 2017 with it all. And when someone introduced the idea to me that all time exists all at once, so what has already happened, what you're looking at has already happened. The future and the past all exist in the same time. And for some reason, that brought me a great deal of relief. Like, oh, that means I'm not Neo. I don't have to fix it. I'm just the Oracle. So if someone asks me, I can tell them what I see. I can tell them what I know. I'm not Neo. I don't have to fix it. I don't have to bust the whole matrix up me, you know? And then I was like, okay, I can breathe now. So.
I mean, we all have a choice in where we want to project our energies. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beautiful thing about this existence is, you know, we don't have to do everything. We just don't. We just have to shape our reality in the direction that feels good for us. You know what I'm saying? That feels right for us. And everything else, I mean, it's gonna happen. You know, I'm still into my conspiracy theories and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But I made the choice that, you know, if I'm stuck inside this fourth dimensional trap, and it is, am I ever going to have time to project my energy in a direction in which makes me completely 100% happy? You know what I'm saying? And the answer is no, because I'm stuck looking at something outside of myself to give me answers. You know what I'm saying? To say, oh, which way are we going to go? You know, I don't care. And I do care at the same time, but I really don't care what's going on in politics now, because, you know, we already know it's a show. But if I stay in that lane, I'll never get anything accomplished that I want to accomplish in this lifetime. You know what I'm saying? If I'm sitting here waiting on something to happen, I'm not in the present moment. You know what I'm saying? I'm not being in my present moment. I'm worried about how the things is going to pan out, how all of the breadcrumbs are going to come. They're going to come together. I just said, well, when the shit hit the fan, I'll hear about it. I'm sure. Right. But in the meantime, in the interim, let me project my life. Let me project my energy into that which I believe will fulfill me. And that way I can share that with the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying? It ain't got to be the whole 7.7 billion, but whomever I come into contact with on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, you know what I'm saying? And not get caught on a hamster wheel. You know, I was like, I'm ridding myself, like Rhea said, of all the identities, of all the hamster wheel. What feels good to me right now? You know, loving myself, uplifting myself. And as I uplift myself, other people see that, right? Let your light so shine before men so that you may glorify our God, which is ourself, in the heavenly realms, which is ourself. You know what I'm saying? And people they'll ask, what is it that you've done to make your life different? Because I'm ready to change too. And that's all I'm trying to do.
Well, now, you know, the saying is, you are the universe expressing itself. You are making the imprint that you want to, you know, create. You're creating your own design. And if anybody is out there trying to change the world and fix something, start with you. So I can't fix or change Derek. I can't fix or change, you know, Trump or Biden or any of these people. They're not in my purview to touch and change. I have to change me and whatever I create. And that's why we're doing Women of the Stars. And that's why you're doing Seed of the Sun. And that's why Sherria has what she's on the edge of some really cutting edge information. And
Well, what it is eventually I'm working on a product development, and so I'm in the beginning stages of that. And so it's actually very interesting because it's it started out as one thing, and then the group that I'm working with is just kind of like expanded more. And it was one of those things where, you know how it starts out as something, it's like you just kind of threw something out there, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, somebody's like, wait, I'm like that, you know, like I want to work with you on that. And so it was one of those things. And what it is it's just opened my mind up to so much more. And so I am kind of keeping it under wraps right now until some of the legal stuff is out of the way. But once that's out of the way, I can be a little more open with it. But I feel like it's something that's really going to help the community. Like for me, it's for, to me, ultimate self-mastery, not, you know, not the typical self-mastery that we've all been, oh, the self-mastery is like trying to be this perfect human, and more of like, okay, well, I understand that I'm not this perfect human, but what triggers these imperfections in me, and what ways can I stay in a vibration, in alignment that keeps me feeling uplifted rather than down. And I'm not here to tell you what that uplift should be, because it's going to be different for everyone. And so I'm really trying to create something that helps give people more of a direction, and kind of like trick people into that shadow work that like everybody is so resistant
trying to avoid,
right? Just look at yourself. Look at yourself.
And so there
but
you
I'm doing it in a gentle way, like I do with my babies. Like, let's just look at this, right?
Yeah.
So there you
and
are.
It's not always easy.
Yeah.
You know, people don't like shadow work for some reason. But I'm addicted to it for whatever, you know, reasons.
When I realized that it wasn't about eliminating the shadow, but understanding why the shadow is acting up. That's when it became easier for me. Like,
you can't destroy the matrix. You can only rebuild it from within. You know what I'm saying? Build it into something new. So you use your shadow aspects, you know what I'm saying, to assist you in this lifetime. I look at myself and I want to make sure that first, because I'm an empath, right? And I'm a projector, right? So I always have to make sure what I'm feeling is actually mine. So I have to say, okay, am I being competitive? Am I being an asshole? Am I being judgmental? I check my shit. And really, honestly, the answer is no. I'm feeling the energies of my other people. Because I remember growing up playing basketball. I never played basketball to win. I played just to have fun. You know what I'm saying? And that's an organized sport. You're supposed to win. Guess what? We won like 2 games, and I was happy about that. Them two games we won, I was fine about that. Because I love just to play the game. I never was that type that just played to win. I'm like, I played to win, but if I didn't, oh well, you know what I'm saying? It ain't the end of the world. I'm not finna fight you. I'm not finna talk shit to you. I used to hate those people that would try to be all in your face talking trash while you playing the game. I'm like, what is that for? You know, the mind tricks and the mind games people play to try to get you out of your element. I'm like, if everybody just do what they do and do it well, oh my God, the world would be such a beautiful place.
See, it's funny that you say that. And, you know, and this is just, you know, one of those things where sometimes we gotta, you know, see where, you know, because it's just like, well, maybe playing mind games is what they good at.
Probably.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've realized that sometimes we can see things that we perceive as negative things, right? And then we'll say things like, well, why can't we just let everybody be great? And then, you know, I've come across a couple of birth charts where I'm just like, there's this heavy manipulation energy in there, right? And I'm just like, can I really judge this person? Like, and then so what I do, right, is instead of making them feel bad because they have that manipulative energy, I help them understand where it's in their chart, you know what I'm saying? So like, this is where you're most likely to be manipulative in, right? So how you avoid taking advantage of people is by learning to validate this within yourself, validate that within yourself, right? Like in that game, for instance, he's sitting here trying to talk to you, or she's trying to talk to you, get you out of your game, you know what I'm saying? And what she's probably not even realizing is that, there's somebody over there who probably got an open score, but because she's so zoned in on you and manipulating you that she can't, see that.
They couldn't.
She's leaving it open.
I had a bird's eye view, baby. Get rid of that rock fast. Are you talking? Are you talking? Let me go and shoot this jumper.
Right. I'm like, if you're going to use your manipulation energy, use it to actually manipulate energy and not people. You know what I'm saying? Like, shoot, transmutation.
I know. That's why I learned that, John.
So that's awesome. Then that's where we're going to wrap it up. So I think you said the magic word. Can't everybody just play the game and be happy? And so realizing that's where we are, we're in this game. That's the reason we came, right?
Yeah. I guess I came this motherfucker to anchor in more love, more empathy, because I had to build so much of that love up within myself. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting in the overflow and an abundance of it, and some people, they ain't ready for me yet.
I will not be ready. What I do at night is I literally do this every night. I lay in bed and I send out love to the world. I just be like, I wish that everybody could go to sleep feeling as at peace as I do right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
I'm because I sleep like a baby every night.
Okay, every day feeling protected.
You don't be in the astral realm? Nope, I be asleep.
So Shalom, how do we find you? Tell us how we can find you and the products that you have.
Oh, okay. Erika kicking us off here, y'all. I'm just kidding.
Cause we're not doing the normal 3-hour mode zones like we've been doing. We doing
it's an hour now. Okay, we've been on for 59 minutes. Well, I'm Shalom I Am Light on all social media platforms: Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Telegram, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also find my website, Shalom I Am Light LLC at square.site. This is my brand, Seed of the Sun. I also diving into some apocryphy and some other magical products, sea salts, oils, and different things of that nature. And I also have a surprise reveal. Stay tuned for that.
It's not a baby.
No, it is not a baby. Although I didn't have a dream, I had a baby. This is the second baby delivery I done had in a year. So I done had 2 babies in the past year.
And Rhea, how do we find you?
Right now you can find me on Facebook at Sherria Nicolette. On Instagram, it is I Am Rhea Slay. As I mentioned before, I am in the middle of transitioning and rebranding, which will be launching in the middle of April. So right now you can follow me on Facebook to see what I'm cooking up. I'm going to have some new services together for you guys. And just help you guys elevate with me, and what I'm cycling through, I'm going to help you guys cycle through, and just keep following me, because I promise you there's some great things in the work behind the scenes, and little throughout the year I'm going to be dropping little pieces and gems for you. So yeah, keep on following and watching. So I'm excited about it.
Awesome. And so I have my group, The Mo Zone, with the First Lady. I'm the First Lady Erika. I have my site, thefirstladyerika.com. The First Lady Erika on all platforms. And like Sherria, I'm also giving birth to the Woman of the Stars. And that's what's next for me, is the Woman of the Stars. I already got my website, so.
Hey, I love it.
And I'm looking forward to the retreats that we have to come. What is happening is these ladies, we're all just getting together having these services is not just about I don't even know how to say. It's bigger than what you can imagine. It's about building this new earth. It's about breaking down those old walls, those old barriers, those little funky old beliefs that we had, this judgmentalness, the duality, things that are holding people back from growing, all the pain that people are experiencing. There's so much pain, like we said earlier, I'm the monster in your story and you're the monster in my story. So remember that way as you're dealing with someone, as you're flipping people off when you drive in, or, someone cuts you off in the line or in the grocery store. People are walking around like a live wire, like a exposed nerve. If you ever had a toothache and an exposed nerve, and they're just reacting off of all the pain and the trauma. And this isn't even just trauma from their lifetime, but this is what a real generational curse is about. There's pain being passed down even from the womb. There's spiritual contracts that have been made from generations ago, and you are witnessing the suffering. And so now we're bearing witness, but we're here to help heal. And that's what this is all about. So I just want to say good night and thank you for anybody that was watching and hanging out with us. I thank you ladies for showing up and rocking it out. Gidget, always, you're like a super supporter. They put they got super spreaders. You got a super supporter. So freaking awesome for always showing up.
Thank you for this, because we as women, I don't really like showing my face, but we as women, we need that.
Beautiful.
I know you cute as all get out.
No, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm in that realm, in that trying to find myself, and I like this. I like you. I like the girl.
We always have that good conversation.
Yes, definitely. So thank you for it. Definitely, ladies.